Welcome to The Walkthrough with 5-Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5-Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. Now, catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
Good evening and welcome into week 7 of The Walkthrough presented by Triple F Paced Hour alongside Jesse Smithey. We've got so much great content coming up tonight, including an interview with Clinton's wide receiver, Bryson Maddox. But of course, all of this is not possible without Triple F, who we use their facilities every time for the show, and it's good to be back here for another week.
Absolutely, and I tried like crazy to get Lee Smith on the show. They always have stuff going on, and he's out in the community, and today he was helping put on a really tremendous golf tournament for charity, and so we said, hey, we'll get you in week 8, but we're in October now, basically, and it's just crunch time. Region games are going to be deciding playoff positions, number 1 seeds. This is the most exciting month of the football season.
Yeah, the temperature is definitely turning up this month.
Yeah, just no more rain. I'm tired of the rain.
I know, no more rescheduling. Let's be done with it. But of course, as you know, if you've been with us throughout the season, we start with our top 12. Not too much movement going on because thankfully a lot of the area teams also had a bye week last week, which probably couldn't have come at a better time for those schools who didn't have to play on Saturday. Maryville still number 1. Alcoa, Sevier County are 2 and 3. And then we have Anderson County, who really is holding firm in that number 4 spot this season.
Right, and they got teams like Powell just kind of pressing behind them. But remember, they beat Powell early in the season, so we got to keep Anderson County right there. But there's teams chasing after those top spots. But Anderson County just keeps blowing out opponents. And they have a really special game coming up this week against Clinton, big rivalry game. But Anderson County just boat raced Carter. That was a game that I thought could be 42-35 or 42-30 in Anderson County's favor, and it ended up being a blowout, as were a lot of games last week. We only got about 1 or 2 good games last week. CAK and Webb was a tight one in overtime, but a lot of these big games that we were looking forward to last week just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, and a little more on Anderson County. It's Waylon LaRue who really kind of stole the show for Anderson County, 2 rushing scores. Yeah,
another big game, and around 150 yards rushing, and Landon Hensley, the quarterback, does his thing. Trent Strickland, though, might be the more slept-on player.
Special players.
I mean, 80-yard kickoff to start the game. He had an interception. He had 40 or 50 yards receiving. And it just seems like every week when I get their stats, he's doing a little bit of everything for Anderson County. So shout out to Trent.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you mentioned it. Powell's right there next to them. Then you have Catholic West, Greenville, Grace Christian continuing their strong start at 6-0. And then you have Bearden. Seems they're starting to get a couple of their key pieces back.
Yeah.
Brandon, I think, is Thompson.
We had Jason Thompson. Jason Thompson came back last week against Farragut, ran extremely hard, extremely well. He looked healthy and ready for this second half of the season. Still waiting on DJ Hunter. He took to Twitter last week and said, hey, I'm a week away. So that makes me think, hey, they're going to be back from Maryville. But the fact of the matter is that Drew Parrott has played really good football at QB1 for Bearden over the last couple of weeks. For the second week in a row, he threw the ball well, ran the ball well, made great decisions, played with confidence. And that's what you want to see out of a senior. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Jones, the head football coach at Bearden High School, handles this quarterback situation now.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be interesting to see how that develops. Our next one at number 11 is Gibbs. They've kind of been in the top 12 for much of the season. They were off to a 5-0 start, didn't play a week ago. But I mentioned them because they've got a tough road ahead coming up after this strong start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they play 3 of their remaining region games all on the road.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to kind of switch it into a different mentality, as I wrote about in our top 12 this week, and take that road warrior type of mentality. They've done it before. Remember a couple of years ago, they didn't even have a home stadium to play in. And so every game was a road game. So they need to tap into that a little bit because they're good enough to be a 1 or 2 seed and get one of those home playoff games. So they got to go out and get it.
Yeah, our next one, who had been in the top 12 for a long time, then got edged out a week ago. They're back in. It's Oak Ridge. What did you like about them that made you kind of bring them back into the fold?
I remember they started off 0-2, and then they had that off week, and so everybody just kind of forgot about Oak Ridge for a while. They were kind of pushed to the back burner in 5A, while programs like Powell and Sevier County and West were taking the spotlight. Over the last 3 weeks, though, all 3 wins. They've dominated on offense. They've dominated on defense, and so they kind of got their swagger back. Felt it was time to move them in there. Halls took that loss. Had Halls played Powell a little closer, I probably would have maybe kept them in.
Sure.
But they got beat 32-7 in that game. They're going to have to prove something, I think, to kind of get people talking about Halls again.
Yeah, and a nice stat line in that article you had on 5starpreps.com was 4 Wildcats had scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah, DeMillion Porter was the running back who led the way with about 149 yards rushing and a touchdown. We had 3 or 4 different guys running the football. And then you talk about Will Presley catching the football. They're just clicking on all cylinders right now at Oak Ridge.
Yeah, so we'll see what that looks like after week 6. Week 7 is in the books. We'll look a little bit more into a preview of week 7. A number of rivalry games coming up. One we've already mentioned, Bearden and Maryville, which a year ago it resulted in a win that you don't typically see in this rivalry.
No, you do not.
If they do get DJ Hunter back, does that maybe change how it goes, or is just Maryville just too strong, you think?
You're talking about an experienced Maryville coaching staff that's seen every scenario.
Yeah.
So if they have to prepare for 1 quarterback, they can do that. If they have to prepare for 2, I'm sure they've already been preparing for DJ Hunter for quite some time. They saw Drew Parrott last year, and Drew Parrott helped author that 21-20, I think, overtime win at Maryville. That was Bearden's first win over Maryville since 1993.
Yes.
And so on this show and on 5-Star Preps, all year long, we've talked about Maryville's revenge tour.
Yep.
Whether it was Bradley Central, whether it was West High School, kind of correcting things on the schedule. And now it's Maryville's opportunity to put Bearden away and capture that #1 seed, and this is an opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Our other rivalry in week 7, it's Jefferson County and Morristown West. Jeffco winning a close one a year ago, 27-26.
Yeah, this is kind of an old school rivalry that dates way back decades upon decades. And Jefferson County, you look at them, they're 2-3 right now, and not the team that we thought they were going to be entering the season. And this is not going to determine any type of region seeding for them. For Jefferson County, but they need this win just as a kickstart for the second half of their season. It's going to be a matchup of running backs: Skylar Thomas from Jefferson County, Cameron Richards from Morristown West. Morristown West kind of had a sketchy start to the season. They kind of, they're back on their feet now. So this is going to be an important game for both teams.
Yeah, and between both those head coaches too, it's actually Jefferson County's coach that has the 4-3 lead in this rivalry. So we'll see if it evens the score, if he gets another advantage in this one. Our other one is Clinton at Anderson County. Of course, Anderson County won a year ago, 28-14. They've also won 13 straight games.
Yeah, and if you ask the people in Anderson County, they might say it's more because there was like a forfeit year or something in there back in 2009. So I don't know, but either way, they've just absolutely dominated this rivalry series with Clinton. And we talked on the show a week ago about this 3-game stretch that Clinton is in. You talked about Powell 2 weeks ago, then they faced Oak Ridge, and then now they got Anderson County. Those are 3 massive programs that you're going up against. You had a tumultuous offseason with the coaching changes, a lot of big-time players that graduated Clinton High School, went on to play college football. So I still think Clinton has done well, even though they're 2-4, to stay competitive, be competitive in that game. I mean, they were toe-to-toe with Oak Ridge for a while last week, and Bryson Maddox was making plays all over the field, a couple touchdowns, over 200 yards receiving. So they have the guys that they're going to take up to Anderson County and try to win the football game with. This Anderson County program they're going to win the tail of the tape. I always talk about tail of the tape. They're going to have the lean. They're going to be the favorite in that game, and Clinton wants more than anything to knock them off.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Clinton and someone we teased to earlier in this show, Jesse Smithey had a chance to sit down with Bryson Maddox, the wide receiver, to talk about how the season is going for the Whiteout.
Here with Bryson Maddox, junior wide receiver at Clinton High School, 6'5", and one of the more talented wide receivers in East Tennessee, if not the state, as part of this great junior class. You and I were talking off set, and just about how many of these guys you've either played with or you've come up the ranks with. Tell me about this junior class, the class of 2026, how special it is.
You talk about a bunch of guys, Tyreek, Shavar, Jibby, Will. It's an elite class, and I think one of the best I've seen around here.
Yeah, it seems like this year, the 2025, all a lot of linemen.
Yeah.
The class coming through in 2026, a lot of skilled players, a lot of wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. It's really fun to watch you guys. Speaking of fun to watch, last week against Oak Ridge, I know that game didn't turn out like you wanted it to, but 10 catches, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just What was that game like, going against a rival, being able to put up some numbers?
I mean, I was excited coming in, especially the previous year, knocking them off. I was excited, ready to go, and ended up going my way.
I look back to last year, and y'all made that unbelievable run at Clinton all the way deep into the playoffs, third round or so?
Yes, sir.
And it felt like towards the end of that year, you were starting to kind of find your way and starting to peak. What was that run like, and especially individually, confidence-wise?
It was truly special. I had knee surgery the spring before, so I came in slow. I missed the first game versus Cleveland, but I had a guy like Josh Keith pushing me, and he told me it's going to come, and it came.
What did you want to get better on, though? I'm sure there were things that you liked as a sophomore that you did, but what did you work on in the offseason?
I was more of a 2-3 catch a game type of guy. I was good for 90, maybe 80. This year I knew I had to get 10, 12 a game, 200, 100, and I think that's been the situation this year.
Seems like you're doing that. I'll read your stats off. 30 catches already this year, 652 yards, 9 touchdowns. So 1 out of every 3 catches is going to the house. Do you feel like you've stepped into that role as not only just an on-field leader, but off-the-field leader as well?
Yeah, it's been difficult because Josh, I was a sophomore last year, junior this year, so I've definitely had to step up. We lost a huge senior class, so it's been important for me to, especially on the field, but especially off the field.
Yeah, I mean, somebody told me they were watching you in that game against Oak Ridge, and I think one of your teammates had maybe dropped a pass or messed up, and they specifically mentioned you going over and kind of cheering him up a little bit or kind of picking the head up. I mean, is that something you've actively tried to do this year?
Yeah, I love my teammates, and I love my community. I love my team, so I know how much it means to my community. I know how much it means to my team, my coaches, so it's important to me how they play and how they feel. So, yes, sir.
So you walk in and I see the wide receiver frame. Your brother was a big offensive lineman.
Yeah.
How did that happen DNA-wise?
I don't know. I've always been slimmer than my brother. My brother's been wider, but I think I got the better part of the genetics.
Well, he went on to sign at Vanderbilt, and I know he's kind of making a different way from there now. In terms of your future, what's it looking like for you, and what are you hoping for?
I mean, of course, I'm a hometown kid. I want to go to Tennessee, but I'm blessed. I have 9 Division I offers right now. Any of those I'm good with, I'll work with.
You talk about Tennessee, and you see what their wide receivers are doing. You see what that offense. How do you see yourself fitting in a place like that?
Like a Brew or a Thornton type of guy. I like to get out wide, run hitches, and make something with it, run posts. So I love it.
Well, I know you're turning more and more heads nowadays. I have people text me about you or commenting on social media about you. So I don't know, maybe the Vols give you a shout sometime soon.
Hopefully.
All right, Bryson, man, appreciate you coming down. Good to see you, and best of luck the rest of this season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
Welcome back into the walkthrough. We're going to continue our Week 7 preview because there are a couple other great games that I want to make sure that we mention. Starting out, it's McMinn Central at Meigs County. Should be a decent game.
Absolutely, and our favorite quarterback named Tough Ricker is going to be on display there for Meigs County. And for the longest time, Meigs County was a 2A team and would always make state championship appearances, and now they're up in 3A. In this game, I put it on there for us to talk about because it's for first place in Region 3, 3A. And this is an opportunity for Meigs County to show that, hey, we're going to belong in 3A for a long time. We're going to win #1 seeds. But to do that, they're going to have to run the football extremely well with Tough Ricker. He's not really known much as a thrower, more just kind of a big body running back, quarterback, a really great athlete. A lot of people speak well of him. But on the other side, you got Aiden Plemons, quarterback at McMinn Central, who last year I think threw for over 3,000 yards. So very much of a contrast in styles in this game. Both teams 2-0 in region play, so very important game down there in Meigs County. And I always want to say Meigs. It looks like Meigs. I learned a long I learned a long time ago at the Sentinel they said Meigs like eggs. So Meigs County, they want some respect on their name.
Yeah, I'm sure they
more ways than
appreciate
one.
that. Our next one is Kingston and Loudoun. And the last couple of years, too, has been a little interesting for Loudoun, but this rivalry's really kind of been consistent.
Yeah, I started learning more about this rivalry. It goes all the way back to like the 1920s, I believe.
Yeah, it does.
And so for Loudoun and Kingston, this game is not a region game. It's more just a bragging rights type of deal for two communities that really pump a lot of passion and support into their football program. And I love when these two just kind of combine forces on the football field. It's old school, like 1980s football, power, control the clock, play good defense, and try to make your opponent make the mistakes. Kingston has a kind of a two-pronged running attack right now with Tayshawn Johnson, Carcel Whitehead. Both those players went over 100 yards rushing last week. And then for Loudoun, you got Bronson Scrivener at quarterback, who probably the more productive quarterback in this matchup between Kingston and Loudoun. So one team's going to run it, one team's going to throw a little bit more. But on the docket, on the marquee, I get excited when Kingston and Loudoun square off.
Yeah, our last one for our Week 7 preview, it's Weston Alcoa, which between the two head coaches in the last two meetings, it's gone one way one year and the other another year. Last year, it's Alcoa getting a handed win. Just going to be an interesting matchup this year. Kind of what sticks out to you with Alcoa specifically?
Well, just this matchup is the premier matchup of the week. I don't think anybody can argue with that. And they went nearly 20 years without playing. And then in 2001, they resumed the series. Alcoa wins a double overtime game at West. Then 2022, West goes to Alcoa, wins an unbelievable game. They get an interception in the end zone. Ryan Scott, who's now at Tennessee, he leaped, whatever. You think me being a writer would know that, but he jumped up in the end zone. He got the interception right there over Eli. It was an Eli Graff pass, a greatly thrown pass by Eli Graff. But Ryan Scott made an unbelievable play, interception in the end zone, secured the win. And then Eli Graff got revenge last year at West. Unbelievable game, offensively, defensively, punting. So this renewed rivalry has given us so many memorable moments over the last 3 years. I don't know what to expect out of it this time. I think West is going to get after it defensively. Alcoa is definitely going to get after it defensively. West has some guys, I think, in their defensive box that can give Alcoa a tough time running the football. And, of course, you see West quite a bit being on the sidelines for their games. West's strength defensively might be in their secondary with Antoine Burdine. I know he's gotten a lot of interceptions this year and has played extremely well. So it's going to be quite the chess match between both football teams there. Alcoa did not play last week, so they've had some extra time to prepare. Last time that happened, they absolutely whipped Greenville. So you just don't want to give your opponent that much time to prepare. So I don't know. You have thoughts on it? Have you dug into your research yet?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, when you're talking about Antoine Burdine, who has just absolutely dominated, whether on offense, defense, special teams. Also, Jack Keith had a pick six on Saturday. His 5th interception of the season. I believe it was his 3rd pick six on the season as well. So I do think if they're going to keep the game close, that West defense has to answer the bell once again for another week. But I do think if they're able to do that, it should be a close game. But just the way Alcoa's been playing.
West is going to have to run the football. They're going to have to.
Which they do well.
They're going to have to establish that early, I think. And if they can do that, then they maybe can pick and pop a little bit with the pass game. That's not their strength this year, but you're going to have to be able to play action pass a little bit against Alcoa. But I saw an Alcoa assistant out in the community last week, and I said, what are you thinking about Wes? And he said number 1 and number 0. That's Jack Keith, that's Antoine Burdine.
Yep.
So it definitely has their attention. I'm looking for another great matchup in this series.
Yeah, should be a good one for sure. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into the win-loss projections and what we think it'll take for these teams to get the W. We'll be right back.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.
Thru, Paige Dower, Jesse Smithey. Our favorite part of the show, or at least my favorite, it's our Waffle House projections. You're doing so well these last couple of weeks. So
been on fire the last
really?
3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, let's be a little more humble here, Jesse.
Hey, the first few weeks we talked about were extremely difficult.
You're like, up 8 or something.
And I like to get my percentage back up. We've been able to do that the last 3 or 4 weeks.
You're well over that 500 mark right now. Again, we talked about in the first segment, Bearden and Marable. It's been interesting the last couple of meetings. This game Maryville is your number one team in your top 12, so I'm assuming you're picking Maryville. In this game.
Definitely picking Maryville. Again, number one team in 5-star preps, have been for quite some time.
Whole season.
Again, Maryville's never going to come out and give you bulletin board material and say, we want to beat Bearden, they beat us last year, revenge, blah, blah, blah. But you know they're thinking that, and you know that's motivating them. They don't like to lose on their home field to anybody from Knox County, and Bearden was able to do that last year. But again, Bearden's getting healthier by the week. They have that big junior out there at left tackle now. They got Jason Thompson, Torian Riggins at the running back positions. Both guys can do a variety of things. Bearden has a chance to make it difficult on Maryville. I still think Maryville wins this football game, but if Bearden can run the football, control the clock, kind of keep Maryville within striking distance, it could be a fun finish.
Yeah, if they get DJ Hunter back, is this a shootout? Is this a high-scoring game? Because we've got Price Davis for Maryville.
I don't know. Again, I'm a little confused as to what's going to happen at QB1 for Bearden. Again, do you ride the hot hand in Drew Parrott? He's playing so well.
Right.
Or do you bring in DJ Hunter, who had the QB1 position
to start?
Had that unfortunate injury. So, again, I think we'll know early on if they trot out DJ Hunter, give him a try. But shout out to Drew Parrott, man. He's really played sound football the last few weeks.
Yeah, makes sense why he was starting a year ago. Our next game, it's Northview at Carter. Carter won a year ago, 36-19. Similar outcome this year with that new coach?
Yeah, I mean, Carter took one on the chin last week against Anderson County, but on the whole, I still like what they have at quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They got guys on defense that can make plays. Mason Phillips, great dual threat quarterback at Northview, and a guy that's going to be able to play college football someday. But I think on the whole, Carter has a deeper, more proven and experienced roster. So I like Carter to win that football game.
Yeah. Our next one is Jefferson County, Mo West, game we previewed earlier in the show. What are we thinking now that we've kind of dived into that?
Both teams need a win. I like Jefferson County to get the win. They're the 6A football team. They should win this football game. They got Skylar Thomas, one of the area's leading running backs, yardage-wise, if not the leading rusher in the area. So they're going to ride him. He's probably going to get 25 to 35 carries in that game and try to grind out a win. I like Jefferson County to do that.
Yeah, I do too. Our next one, it's Kingston at Loudon. We just mentioned them in the last break. Going Kingston's way, Loudon's way?
I like Loudon to win this football game. They're 6-0 this year, a lot of momentum, but nobody's talking about them all that much. So they need a little spotlight. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to beat a quality team in Kingston who was, 4-2? Great running backs, as we mentioned in the last segment. So this is an opportunity for Loudon to kind of inject themselves into the contender conversation there, and I think they get the win on Friday.
You think being able to establish that run game will be the difference maker of this game?
Yeah, I mean, for Kingston, they're definitely going to try to do that. I think they only threw the ball 2 times last week. I mean, that's old school football that they do in Kingston. Loudon's a little bit more of a 50-50 mix, just depending on what's going on. Bronson Scrivener at quarterback, he can run it too, and probably one of the better runners on that football team. So, yeah, it's you're going to see a little bit more variety out of Loudon offensively.
Yeah. One of our last couple ones, it's Central at Oak Ridge. The last time Central won in this matchup, 1990.
Wow.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams go way back. And if you ask old-timers around the area what the best football game they've ever seen, it's 1991 Oak Ridge and Central, back when Todd Helton was quarterback at Central, and Oak Ridge won that football game, I believe. But so these two teams have knocked heads before. And I put that on there just because Central's 3-3, I believe. Some good things going in Kevin Lane's first year at the helm there. They got their quarterback back, Caden Long, and he helped them win last week over South Doyle. But I'm going to pick Oak Ridge in this game, again, just for the momentum they have, the big-time players that they have. It's time for them to really make a push and let everybody know that they're ready to contend in 5A.
Yeah, our last one for our win-loss Waffle House projection, it's West Alcoa. We kind of both just mentioned, is it going to be a defensive battle? What will it look like? Historically, kind of goes in one way to Alcoa, but between these two head coaches, it's 1-1 right now. Yeah,
I think we could really see one of those kind of slugfest games. Of course, we all know defensively they're going to get after it. I like Alcoa to win the football game. I'm going to pick them to win, especially if it came down to a kick. You know, Kieran Tyson had that kick against Bearden that got them the win. But I just think Alcoa, you give that staff so much time to prepare for West and put them under the microscope, that's just going to go in Alcoa's favor, I think.
Yeah, it should at least. You get 2 weeks to prepare, essentially. Sure. All right, now we're going to take a look at Week 8, which has a number of great games on the slate as well, especially when you kind of get into this point of the season. You mentioned the region play that we're in now. You're now in seeding, playoff spots, home field advantage or not.
Yep.
A lot of that's on the line starting next week for these teams, but a headliner might be Brentwood and Catholic, who of course has the Tennessee quarterback commit from Brentwood.
That game will be on TV. Everybody wants to see George McIntyre, 6'5", 6'6", a 4 or 5 star, depending on the recruiting service that you're looking at. He's committed to Tennessee, and so he's coming to Knoxville. Brentwood Academy, I think they're 3-3 this year. They've had some tough losses, but a lot of people in Knoxville are going to be interested in that game to come see future Vol, and that'll be their chance.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see Josh Heupel on that sideline
Probably
before Saturday on the road, but we'll see. The next one is Bearden at Cleveland, and this kind of has an option for home field advantage spots.
Yeah, so if my prediction holds true and Bearden loses to Maryville, they're going to have to beat Cleveland probably to lock down that number 2 seed. You lock down a number 2 seed in your region, you get a home playoff game in the first round. You lose, you're going to be a 3 seed, 4 seed, and have to go on the road up to Science Hill most likely.
Oh, gosh.
So this is a key game for Bearden going forward, depending on what happens in that game against Maryville.
Yeah, we'll see that a lot kind of happening these next couple of weeks. The next one is Lenore City at Clinton, which again is kind of a similar situation depending what happens.
Right, absolutely.
Friday.
For a playoff spot and jockeying for position, Lenore City is a team that could possibly get to a 2 seed. Clinton could possibly get to a 2 seed.
That's fair.
It's just all about those October wins and who can get them. So Lenore City's going to come in and run the ball a ton in that game. They're not going to throw it more than 10 times. And of course, Clinton will throw it with Bryson Maddox. So that should be a really fun game.
Yeah. The next one, apparently the state's oldest rivalry, Rockwood at Harriman.
Yep. Rockwood at Harriman, I love it. We've been down there a few times. I think we did 5 Star Live, which is what this show used to be called. We went down to Rockwood and Harriman, the state's oldest rivalry. I don't know how many years it is now, but it goes way back. They've got commemorative coins. You go out into the Rockwood community. There's stuff inside of businesses. I mean, this is a meaningful game in those 2 communities. So we definitely had to talk about it, and we'll probably be talking about it next week.
Yeah, I hope so. That should be a good game. Our next one is Campbell County at Carnes.
Right. So region implications. And Campbell County got a nice win over Daniel Boone last week, so maybe things are starting to turn the corner for Campbell County. When you go from a spread offense to what the Price twins ran at Campbell County to a wing tee, you're talking about a drastic 180. And so it's going to take some time for those kids who grew up throwing the football and playing wideouts to come in bunched up, trickery, deceiving handoffs. And so they got that win. If they can get this win over a Carnes team that's kind of licking its wounds a little bit, lost its best player to injury for the season, then who knows? Maybe we see Campbell County in the playoffs.
Yeah, our next one, it's Gibbs at Carter, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. Gibbs starting 5-0, and this begins their tough stretch, essentially.
Sneaky good game on the docket next week between Gibbs and Carter. Again, region implications, trying to secure a home field playoff game, and this game will go a long way for both teams in that. Gibbs, I think, wants to prove itself, and they'll have an opportunity against Carter.
Yeah, our last game to look at, it's Oliver Springs at Whitwell.
Well, yeah, 2 of the top teams in 1A, and when I talk to people in the preseason, is it going to be South Pittsburgh who comes up from the Chattanooga area to play in a semifinal game against an Oliver Springs or a Coalfield? And everybody said Whitwell is a team to do that. So this is going to be an early indicator about where Oliver Springs stands compared to Whitwell.
Yeah, and if they're able to kind of really build off of what they did a year ago,
Absolutely.
We can all sorts of headlines. Well, that's the latest edition of the walkthrough. Thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to join us next week, and of course, go to 5starpreps.com for all the latest content on high school football.
Welcome to the walkthrough with 5 Star Preps, the ultimate weekly live show that dives deep into the heart of high school football right here in East Tennessee. Powered by Triple F Training. Train like a pro. Each week, Jesse Smithey and the 5 Star Prep team takes you beyond the gridiron and into the stories that define Fall Friday nights in the hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. From the thrilling touchdowns to the hard-hitting tackles and the unsung heroes who make every game unforgettable, we've got it all covered. Join Jesse Smithey as he breaks down this week's biggest games, highlights the standout performances, and gives you the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee. Now, catch us live on The Walkthrough, presented by Triple F Training.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.